This puzzling picture has always been one of my favourite of Watts's, and for many, many years it was a total wreck. But luckily for our centenary exhibition last year, it was possible finally to restore it. And it appears now in all its original glowing, I was going to say beauty, but that perhaps isn't quite the right word. The title of the work is Can These Bones Live?, which is taken from Ezekiel chapter 37. And Ezekiel isn't always the most uplifting of prophets. And looking at it and asking, can these bones live? The answer is pretty much, I don't think so. And it puzzled me for many years exactly what Watts was saying. And then suddenly I realized that it's his final cry of anguish against everything that he abhorred and despised and loathed about the age through which he lived. The symbolism is rather complex, although the design of the picture, generally speaking, is simple. There is, in the top left-hand corner, the shattered bole of a huge oak tree, symbolizing England. And on the bole is carved in Old English letters, Alfred me planted. So taking that with the picture being painted in 1898, it tells us that the oak tree has survived for nearly 1,000 years, but has succumbed to a vast, overpowering, corrupting pall of vice and greed, symbolized by this enormous, tarnished, extra heavyweight cloth of gold. And you see, the last boughs has snapped off the oak. And he's looked very carefully at an oak tree, because that is exactly how oak shatters. And the last twig has broken off the last branch, and the final few leaves are losing their green and withering. It looks like the bitter end. And under the bole of the tree is a skeleton, mankind, lying in a bed of exotic feathers, beautiful birds that he's destroyed for his own amusement or for the vanity of the millinery trade. Now, Watts didn't often depict cruelty in his work, but when he did, he chose to do it by the destruction of bird life. It's probably goes back to his childhood, when he accidentally killed a pet sparrow to which he was devoted. And to him, there was never a greater cruelty than destroying birds and wildlife in general. And you see here, in a clump of nettles, signifying neglected ground, untilled ground, there is a pole trap, a cruel device used by gamekeepers to trap birds of prey. And lying with the pole trap is an assassin's knife and an empty drunkard's cup, all the evils of mankind you can imagine or perhaps prefer not to. And there, lying in the dust, is a quill, learning neglected and forgotten. And also one of Watts's pet anathemas, an empty purse and gambler's dice. He campaigned earnestly against all forms of gambling in the last years of his life. And on the other side of the picture is an overturned anvil and a broken hammer and a rusty plough, showing that people are neglecting the life of the countryside and drifting to the towns, to the dark satanic mills, I suppose you'd say. And the whole thing is backed by a forlorn sunset, which has a sort of aspect of the aftermath of a nuclear explosion about it. And he's really knocking you right down and giving you a good kicking in an artistic manner. But the extraordinary thing is that in the end, he lets you off the hook. Because if you look closely amongst the shattered branches of the oak, right at the top, is a tiny green shoot reappearing, showing that it takes an awful lot to finish an oak tree, and it takes an awful lot to finish a country like England. It's just fortunate for Watts that he didn't live on a little longer and see all the horror of the Great War.